take place somewhere in a parking lot, a hotel lobby, anywhere at all. Right now, though, we're going to take you to Mean Gene Okerlund, who's with Hot Rod.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Hot Rod.
Yeah, you could say I'm the Hot Rod. Some folks call me the Hot Scott. You know, I guess I'm a little bit of both. Now that I think of it, you could say I'm a little two-faced.
So that's the big controversy today, it seems.
Huh? Wow.
We have a special edition of Wrestling Bookmarks tonight where we're going to be talking about the WWE Network's move to Peacock, apparently only in the U.S. because in other countries you can still watch the original version of it. So I guess let's get started. What do you guys think about the move and about their decision to omit what they deem to be controversial or inappropriate content?
Well, first, let's introduce each person, don't you think?
Oh yeah, let's introduce everybody. We have Guacamole. Kenny
Hey! Thank you for having me on.
We have Rick. Now, Rick, are you from a promotion?
Yes, I'm from Wrestling POV Podcast, as you can tell from
there we go.
Shameless plug right there with the shirt.
No, I love it. I love the shameless plug.
Yes.
And then all the way from Prince Edward Island,
Doug.
It's Doug.
Yeah, that's a great
Doug.
intro.
That's it, just Doug.
There's Doug.
All right.
Oh, and we
I'm
have
from PEI.
another guest popping in right now. We have here we go. Javier.
Oyster. Hi guys.
So if everyone who's watching this show, who usually watches it, is on right now, then who the heck is going to be watching? I'm just kidding.
we only have 5 people. That's it. 4.
All right. Well, the big thing is WWE Network on April 4th will no longer be a thing in the United States unless you want to go to Peacock, and they're only going to allow us to watch what they want us to watch. And I think it's an interesting topic of discussion. So going around the room, what do you guys think about that decision?
Well, I'll just jump right in about it. It's I think it's a safe bet. It's one of those things where some things just don't age well. That's just my take on it. Where Roddy Piper painting his body half black in blackface is probably just doesn't look good on TV nowadays. I mean, if you look at it, also you got the DX thing got blacklisted, as you want to say, when they also have blackface. It's just one of those things where it just doesn't age well, and that's my take on it. It's just not look good for WWE. So I support what Peacock is doing in this.
Wow. Okay.
Age. Yeah.
Well, who's next?
Whoever wants to. Javier, you could jump in.
I'll gladly jump in. I say let the people decide. Either put a disclaimer, let things as they are. I mean, why all of a sudden are we so sensitive with what pro wrestling has always been? If pro wrestling, once it becomes so sanitized that it becomes a G product, what are we watching for? And we're all adults here. If we don't like it, don't watch that promo. If you don't like that angle, go watch another one. Let the people decide. That's like start taking books off, Huckleberry Finn books and all that off of the library shelves. No, they shouldn't read that because they portray these people in a negative light. Oh, they shouldn't read this. They shouldn't watch that. Come on, let the people decide.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the big thing is there anyone who is a wrestling fan that doesn't know that already? You know what I mean? Like, they can't pretend it didn't happen because we know, and there's not going to be like a 10-year-old who's going to be like, oh, let me go back and watch WrestleMania 6. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen.
I think they will, but I think 99% of people who watch wrestling now, they know it's a show. They know it's a work. And if they get worked up about that, it's like getting worked up over a movie. It's right. Let's just live in the real world here, Enjoy it for what it is, but let's understand what it is. It's entertainment, and pro wrestling has always been a little bit edgy, a little bit until WWF wanted to make it a family product, which I grew up on. Hey, no complaints. I had a good time, but let's not sanitize it to the point where it's just it's just so clean where it's not even pro wrestling anymore. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. No.
Well,
The
the other side of that is, does anyone think about? I mean, that's Bad News Brown's probably his most famous match that he's ever had.
Maybe in the United States, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
in
really?
WWE, because in Canada he was a legend. You know,
Yes.
You go back into those days, Bad News Allen. I mean, yeah, for WWF it's got taken off, but you know what? He still has a whole big career, and he has a huge fan base in Canada. So,
what do you think he would think about? Do you think he'd want his match to be taken to be erased, or do you think he'd want to be able to people to watch it?
it wasn't that good of a match to begin with, so I don't think it's something that means that much to him. That's how I look at it.
I mean that match shouldn't define his career.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who grew up in that era will remember him by that. But he has a ton of stuff that's not in WWF, you know.
Right.
But it's unfortunate that they're just kind of someone's picking and choosing what they can now show on Peacock. And,
I mean, they literally could cancel every match from the 80s. I mean, they had a stereotype for everybody. They had the Iron Sheik, right, during the
of course,
the U.S.
Iraq.
Right. They had Nikolai Volkov, you know, the hated Russian from the Soviet Union. Adrian Adonis, right? That was kind of a stereotype. I feel like they King Kong Bundy Hillbilly Gym match from WrestleMania 3 that could be canceled too.
I mean, if people really wanted to, they could get offended over every single character that's ever existed in old school wrestling if they really wanted to. So
right.
where do we draw the line, you know?
I'm offended by that green puppet.
It's kind of tough for me to chime in with anything when I'm supposed to be comic relief. Hey, Rick, how did you guys do it on your podcast?
Well, the thing is, the way we do it with the puppet is he just comes in and he just says some rambunctious shit, you know. So just come in whenever you want. Like if you had a puppet on TV and people got offended by it, I mean, it just depends. Honestly, you have to really think about the people at the end of the day. It's a different time. It's one of those things where, jokes in the 50s are not going to be as tasteful as they are nowadays. You really just have to think about the people that it's affecting and the people that are getting offended by it. So it's tough.
I don't think. Yeah, but I think the problem is I don't think anyone was offended. I think they think people are going to be offended, and that's because it's obviously not a problem because it's on the network literally right now, and they're not editing it in any other country. It's only America. Yeah. So did America become all of a sudden like the most sensitive country in the world?
No.
My question would be when they were done at the time they were done in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, were they thinking who might we offend by doing this? I think they were thinking, I know there's a lot of the same words there, but they're probably thinking who could we offend so that they can come watch the matches to see my butt get kicked, because I want people to get angry at me. I want people to say, I hope they bust this guy up because I can't believe he's talking like that to women about children, about this and that. And that was part of the strategy, you know, get people to watch the matches, you know, to generate heat, you know.
Now my memory is a little foggy, but who was the heel in that match?
Bad News.
Oh, he was the heel. Okay. All right.
It gets kind of confusing over time, right? It gets a little confusing. Yeah. Who was the heel and who was?
I mean, Piper was always going to be the heel anyway, right? Because he was the one that, I mean, he was the mouthpiece that could talk enough that would make people want to hate him.
Yeah, you would think that Piper was the heel. If you look at that, you're like, oh, the guy that has blackface on. But you also look at the DX promo. See, listen, I'm a podcaster. I'm a wrestling manager. I've been in the business. My family's been in the business for over 20 years. Like, I know a thing called cheap heat, and I honestly feel like DX, when they did that Nation of Domination thing, that's cheap heat, man. Like, you can make fun of them without having to dress up like them and put on the blackface. It's just so cheap. Like, it can be done so differently. Like, using your words is huge. It affects people. And if you're using makeup and stuff like that, it's just not cool. It's just I don't see it as when I was a kid watching that, I was just like, why are they doing this? It just didn't make sense to me.
So I'm going to tell a story now. I'm going to put the puppet away for a second.
Yes, yes, Kenny.
In the Kamala book, I'm going to drop some knowledge on Bad News Brown. They went over to, I believe it was New Japan, but it might have been Baba. So it might have been All Japan. I forget now. This was the first book I wrote back in the day. But anyhow, Bad News was on a bus, on a tour bus. They used to drive tour buses from show to show. And Andre said something racist. And they pulled over the bus, and Bad News wasn't messing around, was legit trying to pull Andre out of the bus and was going to like have it out with him. And Andre apologized and this and that. So Bad News was really a tough dude to he wasn't to be messed with. And from what I understand, at least this is what Kamala said, was that Bad News didn't mind doing the Roddy Piper match there because he knew he was going to make money off of it. However, he said that Piper's going to make himself look like an ass. So if he doesn't if people don't like what they see, he's just going to be burying himself, and they'll know, that he's doing the right thing and he's not like Uncle Tommying the match or whatever by taking the booking. He said that Piper will get it in the end if he does stuff wrong and makes people of color look bad. So Bad News was a pretty stand-up guy, and I think that in my opinion, he probably. At this point, if he's not making any money off that, he's probably like, screw it, he doesn't care. He wouldn't care. If it was pulled off of Peacock or whatever you call it now. Do we call it Peacock, or is it still the WWE network on Peacock?
Isn't it a good idea to call it that?
The cock. In a couple more weeks, it'll be only on Peacock. Right now, you can still be on.
You can. Okay. Yeah. So it won't be called. It'll just be like the WWE tab on Peacock.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's going to be a new WWE network other than Peacock. I believe there's going to be a new one. Or
just for pay-per-views, maybe.
It's all going to be on Peacock, but I think there's different tiers. One with ads, and for $5 more, no ads.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, they're going to add for $5, it's going to be with ads, and then for $10, it's no ads.
Yeah.
Or and here's a free plug. You can sign up for ExpressVPN, which I just did, for like $6 a month, and you can stream the WWE network the way it is right now in any other country.
Like you're not in the United
from
States.
Another country. Oh,
right. And then you can watch the original anything.
You're saying Fire Stick it? Is that what you're saying?
No, you just use a VPN, so it'll look like you're in Canada.
Okay,
like Doug lives in a free country where he can watch whatever he wants.
Nice.
Yeah, because Peacock is only in the US. Yeah.
I paid $80 for the WrestleMania 6 DVD.
All right.
Figured it'll probably be worth like $500 in a couple of years. I mean, since you're not gonna be able to watch it in full anymore, it'll be like the Lost Match or whatever.
Javier, is that your book collection behind you? What are we looking at? I see a lot of
some of them, but the wrestling books are a little bit higher. These are other Godzilla, Transformers, aliens, all the other stuff.
People got their books.
Keeps us awake at night.
I like everybody's pulling their stuff out. Wow.
Doug, what is that? An Ultimate Warrior belt? I'm just trying to see what we're looking at here. Check.
I don't know.
That's pretty badass. Nice.
I don't know. I was going to look for the Vader book because I did buy that book.
Oh, did you? All right.
Yeah. Vader book.
Cool. Well, we appreciate it. That's actually being printed in Japan now. They're just starting to. His son sent me 1 through 3 in Japanese, and it's written backwards and all. Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you find
the ear?
The ear yet?
Yeah, right. It's right here, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Spoiler for everyone.
There's a joke on there when you read the book that somewhere on the cover is Mick Foley's ear. You have to find it.
That was just to close that topic. I just want to, in my opinion, it would be like this, just very basic. Just because I watch horror movies and violent movies and people getting slaughtered and killed and tortured, doesn't mean I enjoy that to happen in real life. I know I'm watching a movie, and I think people are kind of mixing wrestling and real life sometimes. I think we just have to separate those things.
I think so too. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Kenny, have you met Rowdy Piper? Did you ever meet him?
Yeah, actually, he's pretty cool. I think he was pretty lit up on something, though. He did a book signing in Jersey when his book came out. The first book, not the one the kids made, but the first one. I think it was called In the Pit with Piper. That's it. Yeah, that's it. And that's one of my more favorite books, actually. I really like that
really
book.
good.
Some people don't, but I really like that one. And
the first one?
Yeah, I really liked it. There's a funny scene in it, story, if you might remember, with the janitor that used to call him horsecock. It's pretty ridiculous. But I guess this old scrapper used to come in the showers when the wrestlers would wrestle, and he would like kind of come over and watch their backs and scrub them. They'd look at him like, "What's this guy doing?" And he's like, "Hey, horsecock, how you doing? Good match tonight." And one day he finally said to him, Piper's like, "So, buddy, why do you call everybody horsecock?" And he's like, "Oh, everybody likes to be called horsecock, don't they?" Like, this is stupid. But
the thing is, when you read those kind of things in the books, it's refreshing because a lot of those things you don't hear anymore. It's not that it's not like I'm cussing all day.
Right.
But when you see it, all of a sudden you laugh because people don't do that anymore in certain media.
Everybody bites their tongue. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Being a school teacher too, if I can just chime in because I didn't say it before, but about the whole, should we delete stuff? Should we get rid of stuff? The whole big push, a couple of weeks ago was Pepe Le Pew was getting booted, right?
Last week.
And, it's fine and dandy if they want to get rid of that, in my opinion, although I grew up and it was on TV and stuff. It was one episode. Like, he wasn't like this was an argument I hadn't really heard. He wasn't like the main attraction of the Looney Tunes. He was like the Barry Horowitz. He was a jobber on the show pretty much for the most part, right? So if he disappeared, you're really only missing a little tiny bit of content. But the thing that I find funny with that whole thing is that you're choosing to go back and delete something or, try to discredit it or take it off the air or whatever, that kids would really have to dig and pick for to find. Like, nobody's watching the Pepe Le Pew episodes of a unless the adults are pointing it out. So my challenge has been to more like the music industry or TikTok or something to step up and clean the stuff that kids are actually interacting with to some degree, right? A kid's not they're not familiar with Pepe Le Pew until you talk to them, but they sure as hell know who like Quagmire is on Family Guy or the alien there. That guy. They say some pretty rough shit, and it's on midday, right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, whatever,
I mean, for me doing stand up, I used to write jokes about this stuff because that's what you do. Observational humor. You look at something and you're like, oh, how can I make this funny? I can't even do that anymore because I don't want people to take it seriously and be like, that you're right. That was what they were trying to do. Like, I'm over here making a joke about Pepe Le Pew. Next thing you know, someone's going to turn it into like, he needs to go to jail. But I don't know. My kids watch it because I have all the old Looney Tune stuff and they seem like normal kids. I haven't seen them do anything, go to jail.
I guess the point I was just making, though, is Pepe Le Pew wasn't on school, on TV every day after school when the kids get home. It's not on the top 40 radio station, not being pushed by mainstream. But why do we pick that out, but not, something that's on TV like Rick and Morty that the kids all like, and it's got pretty sexual, filthy stuff. Now, I like all that stuff. I'm an adult and I like it. So I'm not saying to get rid of it, but it's just I don't understand the selection process. So.
It's just like all in the Family.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's gone.
That was pretty risque. But I would say this. I will say this that let's like you said, Pepe Le Pew was like the C's team, right? He wasn't the big main event attraction. So like Vince McMahon coming in and say, "What's up, my N-word?" Like, we don't like that's not a big deal. DX dressing up in blackface, but do we really care about that? And like the Roddy Piper match, it wasn't a good match. Let's just be honest.
I know, but you know what? That's a slippery slope, though, because the thing is, like, who gets to make that decision? Like, I'll give you an example. My kids and I we watch the Monster Squad. They're 6 and 8 in the beginning of the film. one of the kids calls the other kid the F word. Now my kids don't know what that means because they're 5 and they're 6 and 8. They don't even know what the word means. But do I bring? No, I'm not going to say anything to them because I don't need them to know what it means. And if they're a little older, I would. But like, should they can't take that part? That's just the way people talked back then. I mean, I don't think we should be canceling things. I think we should be learning from which we have as a society, which is why we don't do those things anymore.
Yeah. No, I get you. I feel you. It's a slippery slope, like you said. It's one of those things where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And I'd rather, honestly, as an educator myself as well, I'd rather teach these kids, like, this is the good way to do things, and just be nice be just a nice human being.
The thing is, you can't teach good if you don't know what bad is. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be.
Yeah, it's tough. It's one of those tough things, man.
It's societal because remember in Europe, you're more offended by violence than nudity and sex.
Right.
In Europe at 7 p.m. or whatever, you'll have full blown nudity and very sexually explicit movies, but there's violent movies are censored. Here we get Rambo Part 10, people's heads getting blown off. But if they show half an ass of some girl before 9 p.m., it's a headline, It's just it depends on where you live and
funny
how
think, whatever culture decides to pick on what they don't like and what they do like, and then it's different in different areas. So that's another thing too, is like, how were we to judge other cultures too? So,
I mean, Kenny, do you think Kamala, was proud of the work that he did? I mean, how do you think he would have felt?
He said he was an actor. That's when anyone ever asked him that, he'd say, I was playing a role. I was an actor. I was no different than Clark Kent and Superman or what have you. He would say, so he didn't care. And back then it wasn't a big deal. It's not until recently where.
And he did it real well for years and years. I swear, no one would have thought he was, from the United States. No, nobody.
Right. I did so well,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Piper is like reading his books and seeing. I was just watching his interview on Bill Maher on Politically Incorrect. I mean, he seemed like a guy who grew up in a tough situation, and he seemed like he was a really intense guy who may have taken things, to a different level all the time.
Piper was on Politically Incorrect.
Yeah,
really.
He was on there with Medusa.
Wow, I didn't check that out. I guess it sounds cool.
Bobby the
pulled
Brain
his ass
Heenan.
out.
Yeah, he pulled his pants down.
Nice.
Who else was on there?
Bobby Heenan.
Yeah,
and Sting. I think. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Yeah, that was
But
a great
Piper-
episode. Piper, man, like I read his first book. I met him in person. The guy he loved the business and he wanted to always push that envelope. He always wanted to make it a bigger scene than what it was. The guy fought a bear, for God's sakes, in his teens, a drunk bear that with no teeth and everything. And he's like, "What do you think happened, kid?" I told him, I said, "You fought a bear. How was that?" He's like, "I got fucked up. What do you think happened?" It was just like, it was just an amazing experience meeting him, reading his book is just legendary. The guy always pushed things. And at the end of the day, with this whole blackface thing, he ended up being on the wrong end of it because he couldn't get it off. They ribbed him and he got stuck with it. So.
Oh really? I didn't hear that before.
Yeah. It was somebody messed around with it, so he had it like half for like a week or two. He was stuck with it.
Oh, they put some like permanent ink in it or something.
Yeah.
Nice.
There is an action figure of him like that, right?
Yeah, there is.
Official action figure. So they're making money off that. So they're making the money off the action figure, but now they don't want people to see the clip. There's an official action
crazy.
figure.
Well, I wonder if it's more.
So they when they want to, they do it. When pick and choose,
Right.
It's like.
Now, do you think it's a little bit letting WWE off the hook by getting rid of it?
No.
I think it is. I think it gets WWE off the hook from a lot of stuff. See, because there's a lot of stuff that they could pull and that they haven't pulled yet. Edge and Lita, the sex scene, and all that stuff. Like, there's some really stuff that they can really pull. The hanging of Big Boss Man at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
There's some things that they can really pull. And all right, we'll take the blackface stuff. That's fine. So I think it's just like a give and take. We'll take the blackface and the racial stuff, motivated stuff off, but we'll keep the hanging, we'll keep the sex scene, stuff like that. So
It's been like 10 years where they don't show blood, right? They just put black and white, pixelated. There's no blood. Blood never exists.
What do they do?
To them, blood never existed in wrestling. So if in a match they show an NWA match on the network where someone's bloody. Now they don't see the blood; they see like black and white pixelated, just like a shadow over where blood was.
Oh wow!
So they took away this has been going on for like 10 years, I think, right?
Yeah,
no blood.
Yeah, the focus now is whenever it's like a live. Now they're bringing the blood back though, but before it was every time someone would bleed, they would black and white the screen,
right?
So you wouldn't see it. But now they started because right now WWE's in the process of moving to a TV 14 era, so they're just starting to come back with the blood and stuff like that.
Someone on a group, the AEW match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, that extreme match they had. Someone said, "Well, WWE, now it's your turn to see what you got." And I answered, "Are you kidding me? You know they're not going to do a match like that. There's no way.
Yeah,
there's no way."
I wonder if it's because they went public. If that was the reason why they started cleaning everything up.
I think Doug has to go to the bathroom up there.
I think it has to do with it's a publicly traded company,
right?
I think they don't believe that should be shown to the wide audience they're searching to reach.
Yeah. Like WWE right now is how can I want to compare it to Disney, but that's kind of difficult with how Disney's being looked at. But they are like the Disney of wrestling, and they're just family oriented, and they want to bring families closer together. So that's
Kenny.
Thing is, when we say that they're the Disney of wrestling, it's that my point is they just sort of try to be that when they want to, but then they sway.
Yep.
I would like them
the wind blows.
I would like them to stay consistent. Don't try to tease me into we're gonna have a hardcore match, but then on Raw you have this ridiculous thing with I don't know who, whatever. Just
karaoke.
It's confusing.
Who do you think the demographic was in the 80s, in the early 80s, during the Hogan era?
Say it again.
Who was the demographic during like Hulkamania, like 85 through 1990? Was it kids or was it adults?
It was kids.
It was kids. I think the kids with whatever adults will bring.
Big time kids.
Yeah,
really. But you had teenagers. But once you reach around 15, 16, until Nitro and Raw started getting that's when they came back.
When they got the F out, basically became the big. Teenagers and young adults started coming back to the business.
It is kind of funny how I feel like they've been marketing towards me my whole life. Like when I was
as you grew up,
they had like Hulk Hogan, and then when I grew up and I was like, I don't care about that kid stuff anymore. Then they went to the Attitude Era.
Yeah,
and now
so
that
you're a teenager then, right?
Right, and now that I'm a dad. Now they're getting like family friendly because they want me to watch it with my kids. It's like the weirdest thing ever.
It might be the plan.
They want you to know, don't worry, there's no blood, there's no this, there's no that. Bring your kids and
right.
Watch one of your old
I mean, we want
one of your old matches and then watch some of the new stuff and
that's why there's a lot of people that think that once you get too old to watch, Eddie, and then the kids are not interested, that will it go to the wayside? Will it be like roller derby and just cease to exist? So there's a lot of people that say that, but
I'd like to give WWE props. I mean, because they're trying to reach a wide audience, and it's very difficult because no one's going to like everything. There's always going to be something someone doesn't like, and then others like. They got a tough a plate to try to serve to the fans. It's
I mean, they've changed the way that everything works now too, because just as of recent. They reported that back in the day, the way that wrestling worked is you would sell tickets, people would come to the show tickets would make the most money, and then merchandise would be second. All of that doesn't matter anymore. All of it has gone to the wayside. The new commercial model, for a while was the pay-per-view revenue and the app, but even they've surpassed that model now. The new model, they make more money off of producing content that networks will purchase, and then they buy that library, and that library is worth more than ticket money, more than pay-per-view buys, more than anything. They don't. That's why they don't even concern themselves with selling tickets right now. They're not really thinking long term on how it is to pack an arena or anything like that anymore, because the money that NBC and Fox will throw at them far surpasses any of that other stuff. It's peanuts. So now the new model is the most of the revenue is coming from a check that is written from a network company. Very unlike old days with tickets and T-shirts and all the old stuff, because that money is so huge. The rest is just,
and that ultimately affects creative a lot, because they know who their master is and who's paying the bills and who's keeping the lights on and who's paying their salaries. So they know what they cannot do anymore. And that affects the product.
Right. It's no different than a show, The Walking Dead, getting a check from what is it? AMC? What is the channel they're on?
AMC.
Yeah. So they do it the same model that big TV shows do. They get the advertising, they do some kind of split, something like that, and they make the money from the network. So they're now like a TV show more so than
I'm sure a lot of things from that show are cut off because they tell them, okay, you can't show that. Probably a lot of things aren't shown.
Well, the USA Network, which airs Monday Night Raw, said they wanted something more dark on their show, and they got it right. We got the Fiend getting set on fire. We got Randy Orton spitting up black sludge. Like, they wanted something darker, not sexual, but they wanted more adult. And by more adult, they want like stuff like setting people on fire, which again could be looked at as, wait, what are you doing? You're getting rid of this content, but you're setting people on fire. What is that telling kids? So this is one of those things where it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I understand. Listen, I understand both sides. It's tough.
If they wanted darker, they should have just brought back Kevin Sullivan and his Army of Darkness. Whatever they could piece together, that was pretty dark.
Do you think that WWE will exist in 25 years?
Absolutely. There's no stopping that. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
They've lasted this long. They're a chameleon. Oh yeah, they're a chameleon. Yeah. They're gonna keep on going.
I think AEW can surpass them.
Oh wow.
Actually buy them out someday.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
I'm gonna mark my calendar when you said that. 320
WCW
325 9 Eastern. What is it?
I mean, you don't think that they're putting out a better product right now?
Absolutely not. Not even close. AEW is great, but they're not WWE.
An exploding ring that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I'll chime in on this though.
That put them on the map for sure.
You know what I like about AEW though? It's changing now, but there wasn't a lot of programming, and you could watch all of it. It was easy to get all of the content. But now they've got a third show, I think. Now I'm starting to kind of lose interest because there's stuff happening where I don't have time to watch all that stuff. So
yeah,
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I watch Major League Wrestling mostly. If we talk about the current stuff, Major League Wrestling has an old school feel, but it's polished, and it's a little a hybrid of MMA, pro wrestling, but it still has the gimmicks. It's a lot of things. They have a good blend going on with Major League Wrestling.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, MLW is pretty good. I enjoy it as well.
It's not as clean as a WWE and not as entertainment. Everything's entertainment, but it still feels. Still feels a little bit more real. Damn it, like they say, just it has that feel. But it's still polished. But the essence of pro wrestling, in my opinion, is still there. They haven't killed it.
Yep.
The AEW belt.
I think I have a belt for every occasion.
Doug is like the carrot top of the show. He mentions something, he just brings out a prop. So,
I think what's going to happen is they're going to cancel every wrestler from the 80s except for the Jobbers. The Jobbers are the only ones that can't be canceled. We're going to be stuck with Mario Mancini versus Iron Mike Sharp.
Not if there's
True.
blood.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I have a
So-
question though. What do you guys think of this? Why could you imagine if the WWE or WWF, I guess, had access to TNN's old ECW stuff, which is way more gruesome than the '90s?
And they don't, right?
I thought they. Why wouldn't they?
I don't know if they do or not, but
I don't know if they do or not. Honestly, I don't know. I don't have the network, so
WWE
Oh,
has
ECW,
ECW.
ECW is not making Peacock. I mean, that's not happening.
no.
They're not transferring that stuff over.
So what happens to that stuff?
I guess it probably just disappears. I guess. I would
does it
imagine.
stay overseas though? Did
Yeah.
you say it's?
Oh yeah, yeah. It'll stay on.
Okay.
It'll stay on the W. I don't. Peacock didn't buy the WWE network. They bought the rights to it. So I don't know
Exclusivity.
how long the
Yeah.
deal is.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, why did they buy the rights if they didn't want to show the content? Like, it's so. What were they? I don't understand how that
the
deal happened.
brand. They want the brand, right, to be related with them. They want the brand to be
Right.
related
So
with
how?
them.
I mean, I'm surprised Vince allowed that to happen. To be honest.
He made billions of dollars on it. That's all he needed. Vince
No,
McMahon is
I get
business.
that, but you would.
Well, if they
think
cut
you'd
him
wanna-
a check that was more than the membership fees, would bring in, then he'd be stupid not to, So, and plus, it's probably
Well, I'm
a,
saying, why do you think he would accept that they would, cleanse his product?
well, it's more stable income, right? If they're going to cut a check, he might not know if something's going to happen on TV or it weakens a product. People get sick of it for a little while. The spike drops after WrestleMania of, ratings. But if he's locked in for a couple of years and knows he's getting X amount of dollars, he can do whatever, really. So I'm sure they were smart in how they did it.
Oh, no doubt it was for the money. I'm just
Right.
questioning, does he need $1 billion? I mean, he doesn't need $1 billion. I think he's all right. I mean,
Man.
he buys and sells the football leagues now, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's true. Well, I mean, I'd love to hear like Bruce Pritchard's opinion on this, because obviously Piper was a good friend of him. I mean, I would be interested in seeing what he thinks about this.
You mean currently? I don't think he will for a while. He's not really supposed to talk about new stuff.
Yeah.
That's a deal of him having his podcast and employed by them. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So I
really?
mean, what's that?
Oh, I didn't realize. So he can't talk about it with Conrad.
No. Whenever they talk about new stuff, he has to skirt the issue. Once in a while, he'll chime in something nice, maybe about something, but he can't talk about anything in any sort of opinionated way. In fact, like we were working a book, so we have his book half done. It's got a lot of Dallas time and early days before he met up even with Vince. It's pretty neat. But then he got hired back, and they brought him back into active service, and he can't put the book out now for a couple of reasons. One, there's stuff talking in there about stuff that I wouldn't say could get him fired, but not maybe make people happy, And two, they don't want him to really comment on much of anything other than the stuff that he does with Conrad right now. I guess that's the only thing he really has permission to do. So once he gets fired again, then he'll probably finish the book with me and we'll put it out. So
Was it hard convincing him for you to work on a book with them? Was it did it take months to convince him?
yeah, not really. No, what happened was he just said during one of his podcasts one day, he was like they had like a mailbag show where they were answering questions and would ask Bruce or something like that. So somebody wrote, "Will you ever put a book out?" And he's like, "Oh, actually, I've been working on a book for quite a while. I work on it some and put it aside, work on it some." And he's like, "But I just never put it out. I never had the time really to work on it." So a few people sent me messages. They're like, "Dude, contact him. Tell him you'll do it." So and Conrad has all my books. So like I sent a message to him and I think I said, "Hey dude, thanks for putting over the Brutus Beefcake book recently. I heard Bruce talking about maybe wanted to do a book. You should ask him or whatever." And how did I get that back? How did it come back to me? I don't remember. But somehow I got a hold of Bruce. Maybe he emailed me. I think that's what it was. It was an email. And he was like, "Yeah, if you want." He's like, "I'll give you a call at some point." And I started talking to him. And he had a bunch of it that he just took on his phone, I think, and voice to texted it. And it was just big block of text. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like say it was like 100 pages of blocks of text. So then I went through it and I polished it all up and turned it into close to 300 pages or so in, I would say, a month or two, maybe about 2 months. And he was like, "Oh, this is great." He got all hyped for it. And then he wrote to me, he's like, "I'm going to have to put a hold on this now. And I know you're going to think this is assholic," was the word that he said. And I was like, "Nah, dude, no problem." And this was like beginning of last year. And he's like, "I'm going back to, work for Vince for a bit." And he's like, and I said to him, "Don't worry, dude, when we can get back to it and work on it, when you're allowed to do it, I get it. We could put it off for a couple of years and come back to it." And so that's where we are right now with that.
And then Kenny goes out, the unauthorized Bruce Pritchard story.
You'd love that. But there was some research I did for his book that actually, surprisingly enough, aligned with Just Incredible's book. There was just some time period where I was able to take some of little bits that Bruce Pritchard told me and worked it into some of the research of Just Incredibles, which will probably, the final draft will be done probably June, May, June. So we're about done with that. So, very good. Since we shifted to books, we should ask Doug if he has a favorite wrestling book. We could talk Peacock all night, but
The only one I ever had was the Rock's book.
You like the Rock's book? Okay.
I don't one ever read.
All right. That's my least favorite book of all. What about Rick? Do you have a favorite book out there?
I got a bunch.
I saw you had
here.
a stack of them there.
I got
Brett's book. Nice. All
one
right.
of my favorites of all time.
That's a great book. That's a great book.
It's good stuff.
Great guy.
One of my favorite things, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but what his vice was just like, wow, that shocked me, honestly. Like, he would go out to bars and everything, and all the other wrestlers were getting drunk and doing drugs. That wasn't what he was about. He was about something else, and if you read this book, you'll find out. It was.
Are you Bret Hart's hype man trying to sell the book? Or?
Listen, I will do anything for Bret Hart. When I met Bret Hart and he signed that book, he was telling me I was wearing my pink and black, and he's like, "People like you are the reason why I'm alive," and I melted. I was just like, "Oh my god, thank you, Bret."
He's a nice guy, but I'll tell you what, I read the book and I thought I know what you're talking about, and I thought it felt like he was trying to basically give an excuse as to why he did
that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do.
Which is fine. I have no problem with it. Whatever. I mean, do what you want to do.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where I'm just like, eh. And then I have to say, my other favorite book would be Jericho's Lion's Tale.
Oh, I haven't read that one. Okay.
This one is really good.
I haven't read. I think I do have that one. I'm reading this one right now. Undisputed.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Lion's Tale is really cool. It talks about his travel through all the different countries that he wrestled in. Really good story about him almost getting killed in a taxi cab because he got in the wrong cab. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow.
And just like his whole journey, Jericho is just an amazing wrestler in person. So I really pushed that Lion's Tale book for sure. Yeah, I love reading wrestling books. They're one of my favorite things too. And you can go to
years from now,
WOHW.com and get yourself a Kenny Casanova book right now.
Yes,
absolutely.
Years from now, Jericho will be, arguably have to be up in that Mount Rushmore for a lot of people. Because he's had so many runs and reinvented himself over and over and over again. So you got to give the guy props. He's awesome.
I put him there now, honestly. I really do.
Yeah. He's the only reason why I watch AEW. Really? Yeah, I'm a big Jericho
I was never a huge fan. Probably just because of that era. But I like his books though. I think it's entertaining.
The first time I saw him live, he was at Lost Battalion Hall. I went to an ECW show in Queens, and it was him versus RVD. I didn't know who either one of them were. He was Lionheart, Chris Jericho, right? And I'm watching these guys. I'm like, these guys are awesome because back then ECW early on was just a lot of brawling, a lot of garbage wrestling, and Paulie took him from Canada. I guess I'm pretty sure RVD must have been doing some stuff up there. I'm not sure, but they came down and man, the chemistry and the match that they had was ridiculous. It was like an opener for the show, and it just blew my mind because that was the first time I had seen that type of kind of little bit of Japanese, little stiff, little bit of Canada kind of wrestling happening, and blew my mind. So
yeah,
that was like
Jericho
90,
all over. Yeah,
96, 97. I don't know. It was a long time ago, something like that. But,
yeah. Jericho was one of the first to put the cruiserweights on the map, and that's definitely what it was.
Yeah. I write for Pro Wrestling Stories, so
I saw that.
I people who write full blown books. I respect the heck out of them. But if you would ask me, some of the books I most enjoyed, I enjoyed the Vader book by Kenny. I plan on getting more of his books for sure. There's a long list of things I want to read, and anything from Crowbar Press.
What kind of articles do you have up there, Javier? What do you have up? Have I read some of your stuff?
I usually go by more old school stories. By next week, there should be about 83 articles on that site. So there's a little bit of there should be something there for everyone.
Wait, 83 of yours?
Yeah.
You have that much? Okay. So
Really?
you ever want to put some of that stuff together? I'll show you how to publish it, dude. You can put your own book together. I'll help you out if you want.
Sure, we can talk. We can talk.
All right. Drop me a line. I don't know.
If you add all those articles,
that's what I'm saying. You'd have a book.
Most of them are long form.
Yeah.
They're not too short, but we'll talk. Yeah.
I just show you how to do it. Like, I'm not looking for any money. I usually try to help a lot of the guys that are writing and get, a little bit of publishing knowledge under their belt.
I'll send you a link of my articles.
All right.
Check them out.
I might even read some of it. I read that sometimes to get like ideas on how to approach.
You might have read one of my articles, but maybe just didn't know.
Yeah. Cool.
That's pretty cool. Javier, what's your favorite era of wrestling? Is it the 80s, like early 80s?
Well, I started watching late 85. Of course, I like that era. Anything, let's say from mid 90s, 97, 98, and older. But I like watching stuff from the 70s. Sometimes I watch matches from the 50s. I just like Johnny Valentine, and I mean, amazing stuff, man. It's just so different. So different.
I'll tell you, the Johnny Valentine beefcake, being Greg the Hammer Valentine's partner for a long time with the Dream Team and all that.
Yeah.
Man, he had some stories about Johnny Valentine, and every one of them had to do with poop. There was poop jokes.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
So much poop jokes. I mean, like just one, Eddie, if you haven't heard this before, he used to take like cow manure and lay it out on a rock and flatten it and pound it with like a knife or something, flatten it real good and cut it up and put it in a bag and mix a little bit of chewing tobacco in with it, so it looked like chewing tobacco.
It was like some kind of weird fetish he had.
Man. He would give it to like the green guys, and then he'd be like, "Yo, you want to get in good with the wrestlers, kid? You got to do what we do. You got to do a little chew, and sit back with us. It's like social drinking." So he'd give him a bag of it, and the kid would start chewing it, and his eyes would be watering up. The kid would be like, he's like, "It's good, right?" And the kid's like, "Yeah." He's chewing cow shit.
That reminds me, one of the topics you wanted us to discuss with the Hall of Fame, right? The WWE Hall of Fame. They kind of threw it out there. Right?
Yeah, we should talk
Johnny
right?
Johnny Valentine reminds me of Greg Valentine is in the Hall of Fame, but Johnny Valentine isn't. I mean, is Johnny Valentine less deserving than Greg? Greg the Hammer is awesome, man. I grew up watching him, but come on, Johnny Valentine, he's got to be in. There's a list of at least 200 guys who should go in before the great Khali, and I'm sorry I brought it up. I'm so sorry. Come on.
It's pretty cool when you. I would guess Javier has probably come across this too. When you're doing the research when he's doing a research for an article, or I'm doing a research for a book or something like this, and you come across one of these little like gems, like Johnny Valentine used to do these silver dollar matches, like just very bizarre. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of this, but they would put in a big like fishbowl all these silver dollars, and people had to compete for the silver dollars and stuff. And very weird stuff like that. I don't even really remember like how that ended, but there was some big thing with smashing the thing over the head and silver dollars going everywhere and everything like this. But
kind of like the coal miner gloves they had in Portland, right? Stuff like that.
All kinds of weird stuff they used to do back in the day to draw, and a lot of it now is kind of kicked to the wayside. I say this a lot too. Like I've challenged. I think I said it on Rick's show when who was that? Andrew. Who's the Canadian guy?
Andy Anderson.
Anderson. I told him, I think this before too, that when I started, I was a manager back in, say, like 94. This guy, King Kalua, who trained Tom Brandy, Salvatore Sincere, the Fake Patriot. I managed King Kalua all over the place. And he was trained by Don Morocco, I believe. But anyhow, they used to do this thing where they would make a fake brass knuckles, and they would take basically a roll of toilet paper, wrap it up with like athletic tape, and then put another piece around the middle and wrap that up and make a handle on it. And they would give this to me, and I would stick it in, my pocket, and I would throw it into them. And they had all these different brass knuckle spots, a million of them that you would do, all kinds of like, Memphis kind of crazy, ridiculous. Like they'd put the brass knuckle under their arm, they'd win the match. Referee would hold the arm up, and then the brass knuckle would fall down. They'd see the brass knuckle and then disqualify the guy. Like there was all kinds of like neat things like that. And if people went back and someone took the brass knuckles as a gimmick today, it would be all brand new, and they could use all that shit again. And I think it would get over. But I don't know. People are afraid to do that stuff.
And the real artistry is you didn't even have to have a physical object. If you made people believe that you put some coins in your fist and the guy gets knocked out, you make them believe, and you had nothing. I mean, that's
the invisible foreign object is what he's talking about. If we didn't have a brass knuckles, he'd put his hand down to me, and I put nothing in his hand, and he would hold, nothing.
Exactly. They go down there tight and act like there's something, and then they hide it again. And it's amazing. That's the real artistry. That's kind of sometimes lost.
It's gone. Yeah.
They tried that with Sean Spears recently, and it didn't go over so well. Yeah, Sean Spears had the black glove. He had the plate in there. Tully Blanchard would throw him the plate. He put it in, and I don't think people got it. And
it could be so new he didn't know really what to like. I would challenge them, go back and watch like George Animal Steel early matches before they gave him the puppet and stuff like that. Man, he was a master at it. He would get something. I think what he did, he told me this before. He took like a hair pick. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's like that. So he would break off the teeth of the hair pick and just kind of wrap it a little bit with tape, and he would kind of like stick it up in his tights. And he would tell the referee, always stay on my like right shoulder. And he would put his hand out like this, so everybody would see him. And if the ref would follow him, he would turn. So like his arm would always be outstretched and away from the ref. So everybody would be, screaming, "Oh, look." And the ref would like come to walk around him, and George would just turn again like this, and he would never see this item. And then if he got close enough to it, he'd just poke it up into his tights because it was flat.
Amazing.
It was pretty cool. There were all kinds of neat things like that. If you want to go back and watch, I think maybe on YouTube there's a good George Steele versus Bruno Sammartino where he's just working that foreign object like ridiculous. Some indie guys should watch some of those and really master all those spots and like come back and just kick everyone's ass with brass knuckles.
Yeah.
Eddie needs one of those mind dolls for his collection.
I do.
I have one. Like I actually have one downstairs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I was thinking the other night, maybe I just wasn't a smart kid, but I was watching WrestleMania 2 with my kids, and it was the main event with Hogan and Bundy, and they're asking me when like Hogan slams Bundy and like he's like on the ground, like why isn't Hogan trying to get out of the cage? Like why doesn't he just go open the door and get out? And I'm like,
it's not that part of the story yet.
What's that?
The fact that the fact that they let people go in and out of that door that was messed up from the start. I still love that match, right? It shouldn't. Yeah, but Hogan went over the cage instead of going through the door, right? That's what
I think I heard before that the door was introduced because someone couldn't climb the cage, and I don't remember who it was.
It was probably King Kong Bundy, I would imagine.
Maybe.
That would make sense.
Maybe. Can't see him climbing up over the.
That's when Elvira says Hogan's using Bundy's head as a stepping stone because he was all cut open, and Hogan was kind of like walking over his head like a. Those are the kind of things that might go away with this Peacock thing. Maybe.
I mean, well, speaking of that, what the last thing I'll say about the topic is the fact that Hogan he's hosting WrestleMania after his big controversy, which I think is just so funny how it's kind of it's a little hypocritical.
Absolutely.
Although I guess Peacock wouldn't be able to dictate what WWE does, right?
Well, he hosted American Gladiators a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna have that kind of feel with Ali's daughter.
Yeah,
that's what it hosted.
Who is it? Hogan. Who else?
I'm always happy to see Hogan back. I don't want him to see him take any more bumps, But hey, more power to him if he wants to do one more match, right? Everyone's like one more match, right?
I think WWE's justification of having Hulk Hogan is like, well, we got Titus O'Neil. All right, Titus O'Neil is there, guys. So, right, it's okay.
Hey, is he still there? Is he gone? Titus O'Neil. I see him in commercials in upstate New York.
He's like he's just behind the scenes kind of guy where it's just like we need this black guy to promote for us. So there you go, Titus O'Neil. like it's just it comes off as fake. Like you guys have been saying, WWE. It's just whenever it's beneficial for them, they're gonna use it, and that's what this Hulk Hogan thing is right now. It's okay. We're gonna bring in the old people because the older people love Hulk Hogan. But just in case people get offended by Hulk Hogan, we're gonna throw you Titus O'Neil.
You know why Hulk Hogan's gonna be there so that the old people can watch. Old people, I include myself.
Well, he's Hulk it's in Tampa.
Hulk Hogan's there because a lot of people won't tune in because Bad Bunny's there, but an old guy like me wants to see Hogan.
All right, there's Bad Bunny. Who is this person?
All right,
he's a Puerto Rican reggaeton artist. Reggaeton.
He's not a wrestler,
huh?
He's not an actual wrestler. Okay.
No, he's like basically like a rapper.
Yep.
That's training to be in the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Very, very famous rapper, but the music is called reggaeton.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is probably the biggest marketing guy right now. He's selling out for Adidas, for Crocs, his music.
Funny.
The guy is money. Like he sold out his WWE shirts. I'm not a fan of
his shirts are more than anything WWE is what they said, right?
Yeah.
It's the top number one seller, right? Yeah. Number one, right?
Yeah. So the guy, whatever he's doing, he's making money for WWE. He's making money for himself. I look at it as Lawrence Taylor was in WWE, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
who's
Lawrence Taylor's
The
at least he's an athlete, he was a football guy at least.
All right, how much does this guy weigh? Is he like a big guy or
no? He's really small.
He's thin. I think he's 120 pounds soaking wet with a brick in his pocket.
With rocks in his pocket.
Hey, Snooki was at WrestleMania, so we can't say anything about
that's
that.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Don't remind us of that.
I mean, if they see the numbers jump, they're gonna put them in. That's what they've been doing. That's all. Yeah. That's what it's about.
That tells you how bad the product is that they have to do that. I mean,
but WrestleMania's always done that. Like to be
fair. Wrestling's always been like that. WWE's always is, ever since WrestleMania 1, you had Liberace and
Mr. T.
Cindy
you think
Lauper.
we'll get like Gronk versus Bad Bunny? You think that could happen?
Oh God!
Wait, Gronk was 24/7 champion.
He has an action figure, Gronk.
I saw that. They put on,
really? Wow.
Social media, Gronk figure.
That's insane.
And I guarantee Bad Bunny would sell out quick too with that if they make a title.
It's next weekend, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks from now.
It's on. I'm assuming it's on April 5th.
6th and the 7th, I believe.
Okay, so the day after we lose the network. Interesting.
Yeah.
If you ask me, just try to bring back Bundy and our Earthquake somehow and just avalanche and splash the heck out of Bad Bunny and call it a night, right?
I thought you were going to say bring back Adam Rose and have the bunny and then he takes the mask off and then it's Bad Bunny. That's how I would book it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's crazy. All right, guys. Well, hey, it's been fun, and I'm glad I'm glad we got absolutely nowhere in this controversy, but
What do you think you're talking about the Hall of Fame?
Solve the world's problems. But appreciate you guys coming on. Anyone want to have anything they want to plug before we go?
Don't tempt me with a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rick Serrano III. I'm from the Wrestling POV podcast. Make sure you check it out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Wrestling POV Podcast. We have an abundance of shows, Wrestling POV, where we cover WWE, Wrestling POV Global, we cover AEW, Wrestling POV Quarantine, where we have an abundance of stars like Kenny Casanova, who appears every now and then, Savio Vega, a bunch of other wrestling legends have appeared on the show, and we just have a lot of fun. It's all about your POV. We never get mad unless you say something stupid, but it's all about your personal point of view. All right, that's what it is. It's all about your point of view, and that's what we're about. So even though I disagree with what somebody says, at the end of the day, it's all about wrestling, and that's what we're all about. So thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
just don't say anything stupid, and you'll be cool on the POV podcast.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
So Doug, tell us why IPW is your screen name there for a second, and then where they can find you on the social media.
Okay, IPW Wrestling is on Facebook.
All right.
It is also IPW Wrestling, IslandProWrestling.com. It's a promotion that I'm just starting. I've been in the business for a little bit. I know a lot of guys in the business.
Okay.
I know Beefcake personally too, so
nice.
Yeah, I've had him here a few times. I've had Rikishi here, Matt Hardy, Bret Hart twice.
Where are you? Where's your promotion?
Yeah, I'm in PEI, Canada, Prince Edward Island. Yeah,
cool. I had to look it up on a map. It looks like it's above Maine.
Yes, it is just above Maine.
Okay. Cool. And we talked before. Cool. We talked about bringing me on as a manager.
Sure, let's do
it. Take a coat. Take a coat up there.
So Javier, what are you working on, Javier? Anything? Any articles?
I'm always working on an article. You can check out my stuff on ProWrestlingStories.com.
Okay.
You can everything there is fun. It's a fun read, but I got a little bit over 80 stories there. I'll send you guys a link, and if anyone wants to friend me on Facebook, that's cool too. Right. We'll hang out, whatever. But I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Javier, you wrote an article. I'm looking now about the first wrestling figures.
Oh yeah, LJN. Yeah, that's one of the articles. Yeah,
big LJN Mark.
Did you happen to see the show with Brutus Valentine that we did? The guy that wrote the LJN book.
Oh yeah. That you guys went real deep in the figures. I pretty much watch every single show on Wrestling Bookmarks. Pretty much. And I watched it. Yeah, you guys went real in depth with the figures, man. And the guy from Australia, right?
That guy knows some ridiculous stuff. I'll tell you. I mean, he wrote a book on it, but
that guy lives, breathes, eats LGN figures, and that book's like huge, right?
Book's awesome. I ordered one. Did you get one, Eddie? You did.
Yeah,
right?
I got one. Yeah,
the thing's like $70-$80, but it's like
you cannot have a complete LJN collection without that book.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like the book everyone asked for, and it came out 30 years later. Later.
That's cool. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for coming on. And we'll see everybody next week.
And we'll try to do another one of these. I think we should do some more of these jams. Yeah, it's hard for me, by the way. I book a lot of the talent on here sometimes, and what's happened is with all the virtual and all the COVID now, a lot of the guys, that are friendly with me, working with them, the wrestlers and stuff, they're hard to get to come on here now because they usually get paid for this now because of the virtual, they're selling their crap, on some virtual something, So now I ask them to do this, and they're like, "Oh, brother, I get paid for that now." So, we might have to switch the format a bit.
We have Dairy Queen gift cards.
Well, you are.
We'll be sending out. And maybe $2 off
steaks.
Your local A&P. All right, guys. We'll
Thanks,
see you
guys.
next week.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bye.